Welcome to the Rimworld patch rundown. We'll be taking a quick look at what you can expect to see in version 1.5. Something a little different to cover today, folks. With the upcoming release of Rimworld Anomaly, the next patch will be dropping the base game Rimworld 2, meaning that even if you don't buy the new DLC, you still get a bit of new content, a lot of quality of life changes, and some bug fixes, all for the low cost of absolutely free. If you'd like to read the patch notes for yourself and get into the real nitty gritty of the minor bug fixes and changes, the link is in the description. I'll be sticking to the major additions and changes rather than going into excessive detail on the niche technical stuff. First then, some new things to play with. If you used Vanilla Books Expanded in the past, you'll be happy to see that reading is coming to base game Rimworld. Books are obtained from traders, or offered as a quest reward, and can be stored in the unique stockpile building of a bookshelf, which has better buffs when more books are stored inside of it. It increases room beauty, makes research benches work faster, and further improves the benefits of reading the books stored inside, so storing all of your books in one central location is the best choice. Books themselves are broken into three categories: novels, textbooks, and schematics. Whilst all books give recreation, novels have the highest rate. Textbooks increase the associated skills whilst reading, and schematics will make progress on the specifically mentioned research project. All of this comes together to give your colony a new form of recreation that provides numerous bonuses too. The quality of the books comes into play, especially with textbooks, as the higher the quality, the more XP per hour it provides, and it also allows you to hit a higher skill ceiling. Awful offers 125 XP per hour and caps at level 2. Poor is 188 with a cap of 5. Normal is 250 at level 8. Good is 312 at max 10. Excellent is 375 at skill level 12. Masterwork at 438 to level 14. And Legendary is 500 XP an hour all the way up to level 16. Some books can also train 2 skills at once. For these, you split the XP per hour in half across both of the skills. I'm sure that at this point, everybody knows about our Lord and Saviour, Walllight.
Yes?
Hello, we were wondering if we could talk to you about Jesus.
Grace, come in!
With 1.5, you now have wall lights and wall torches included as standard, which provides slightly less light than the floor variant, with the upside being they take no floor space. You've also got floodlights, which cover a massive radius and are intended for outdoor use. Consider these to keep move speed high around your colony if you have a lot of outdoor space to cover between buildings, or if you have a few night owls that work in the fields. They'll appreciate not fighting against a work speed debuff every single evening. Most people will also know of mods like Subsurface Conduit or my personal favourite, Underground Power Conduit. Well, you can throw those in the bin. Base game in 1.5 features hidden conduits, which are only visible when you're building or if you turn the power overlay UI on, making for a much cleaner look to your colony building. As an additional bonus, they're more resilient to fire and explosions too, meaning no more risk of a stray grenade knocking out the power for all of your turrets. Another mod we get to say goodbye to is literally just a sofa, as couches are now available. These should make for a much better looking cinema area and allow for a more diner-esque appearance in your colony's dining room. They do look better back to back if they're facing left and right though. Top and bottom is iffy. Ornate doors are a new addition that do something similar to doors expanded without actually treading on that mod's toes. The only 2x1 door you have access to in base game Rimworld is the ornate door, which is designed for use in throne rooms and temples, given that it has a gold cost and all. If you're still wanting normal 2x1 or 3x1 solutions to doors in game, you will need to look at mods like Doors Expanded, which make it considerably easier to section off wide hallways or make common rooms, like the recreation area, look more inviting without needing the expensive resources of an ornate door. There's a new, somewhat interesting change to mechanoids. They're now able to spring up from bodies of water when attacking your colony, making certain maps harder to defend and further mixing up raid types. As well as their new style of raiding, larger mechanoids now also have a chance to drop mechanoid slag chunks when broken down, which can then be smelted for even more steel. If you're using ideology, you should see these replacing some of the debris on your map. A somewhat sinister and cruel change is the addition of crawling. Humans that are downed but still capable of manipulation are now able to drag themselves across the floor rather than simply wriggling around like a tortoise on its back. Crawling colonists will do their best to move away from danger and get themselves closer to a bed or hospital for treatment. Crawling enemies will try and flee the map where possible. This definitely ups the visceral nature of combat and can create quite brutal looking battlefields. It feels a lot darker to drag a crawling enemy pawn back to your prison.
Come on then.
A change some may love and others will never use is the option of a fresh group of wanderers if you hit the game over screen. If all of your colonists die, get captured, or abandon your cause, you can create a new group of colonists that will take over the map and give you a chance to carry on. Personally, I enjoy the story of how a colony starts, develops, and eventually dies, but I can understand the appeal of playing with a colony that has the origin story of finding a completely abandoned base, resettling it, and living with the reminders and ghosts of the past occupants. Some new bits for the UI now. If you've ever found yourself scouring the map because you definitely remember at some point you had a psychic shock lance and now you can't find it, rejoice! A search tool has been added to base game. So you no longer need to use Ctrl F and all of its dependencies. You can now simply press the Z key and search for whatever you need. Another mod being swallowed into base game is colour coded mood bars, as now you can use base game settings to make it much more visible, with mood changing the colour of the bar and glowing when approaching a mental break threshold. I would still recommend CM colour coded mood bars though. It also shows high moods, pregnancy, illness, bleeding, temperature, gender. It's just really useful. With base game, you get a yellow glow at minor break, orange at a major, and red at extreme. Additional highlighting has been added to pawns when you zoom out to make them more visible. This can be customised in the game options to revert it back to the old style of a dot used in 1.4 if you prefer. It colour codes based on allegiance and shows the silhouette of the animal or pawn so you can more rapidly identify them. It's very useful. A minor change, but one I've actually seen people request mods for on Reddit, is the option to use a 12-hour clock rather than 24. So if you prefer seeing AM or PM, now you're covered. I say that you're covered, but the schedule tab still uses 0 to 23, so good luck. There is a new zoom control, which makes me feel physically ill, but I'm sure someone likes it. You can now enable zoom to mouse, which means when you scroll in or out, it relocates the camera to the point of the cursor. It's one of the first things I disable when using the Camera Plus mod. It's like crash zooming into details constantly. If you suffer with motion sickness, this might be something to keep off. You've got new UI options for both the medical and the prisoner tab, making it a little easier to navigate and allowing you to change the default settings for medicine used. No more random guests sucking up all of your glitter world because they got a bruise on their toe. There are some new bits of art, improving the fidelity of weapons and adding variants to plants. Personally, I think that I'm so used to playing with texture overhaul mods that this doesn't read any differently to me, but if you're a pure vanilla player, it might stand out to you a little more. A few final changes are the inclusions of the clean room command, so you no longer need to queue up multiple cleaning commands to remove all debris, blood and vomit from the hospital before trying to install a bionic limb. I mean, it's still going to fail anyway, 2% chance of failure means 100% in Rimworld. There is now the Mine Vein designator, which is one of the best features of the mod Allow tool, as it will automatically designate all connected ores to be mined too. This is a slightly more balanced version of this tool, as it doesn't let you see through walls and designate ore that you can't see, but it does save you the time of dragging the mine command around the outside of all ores. Nice. Smooth walls and smooth floors have been added to additional tabs, just in case you didn't want to build walls or floors of your own. Finally, there's a bionic jaw in the game, so now if someone has their face shot off, they aren't stuck using a wooden denture for the rest of time, whilst carrying laser weapons in marine armour. It's a small addition, but a very welcome one for sure. Something to add a little more danger into the game now is the new disease of organ decay, giving you all the more reason to find yourself willing donors from enemy raids. You may want to keep spare organs on ice at all times, as you never know what you might need. fire foam poppers can now be set to automatically rebuild, so if you're using one to secure your kill box, you won't be caught out between raids if it's slipped your mind. Traders can now be dismissed. Finally! So if you're paranoid that they're going to hang around and likely get slaughtered by a raid, leading to a huge loss in relations, now you have a solution. This is also especially handy if they turn up with a bunch of animals and show zero respect for the cleanliness of your base. We've all seen how they love to let their muffalo just wander through your kitchen and hospital. There is a small but very handy change to the world map. Now you can simply select a tile and click Send Caravan. It saves at most 2 clicks, and I'm sure players are used to the old system and they'll have it down to muscle memory at this point, but it's worth mentioning you can do that now. There are a lot of new sound effects in the game. Animals eating, nighttime jungle ambience, psychic shock weapons, melee and ranged combat. As someone currently playing a lot of Project Zomboid, I can appreciate how much good sound design does to further a game's enjoyment. And best of all, the mod Begone message is now base game too. Those annoying white text messages that cover your colonist bar at the top left, you can click them and they'll be dismissed. That is the majority of new bits added to the game. You've also got a bunch of tweaks, adjustments and balance changes. Ascetics ignore eating without a table, tending to visitors increases your goodwill, pyromaniacs will get a mood boost from incendiary weapons, starting colonists are more likely to have relevant possessions in their inventory, there's new tainted apparel visuals, some buildings have been reorganised in the Architect tab, you get a message when abilities like Preach Health come off cooldown. It's a lot. I definitely recommend reading through these changes yourself, as there are a lot of notes that will or won't apply to most players. I'll be covering the Anomaly DLC when it releases, and using the time between mods updating to also produce coverage for the older DLCs too. Somewhat of a buyer's guide to help newer players know exactly what they're getting and what provides the most bang for your buck. I'll return to the mod rundown when we start getting more stable versions of mods released again, as we all know this game by now. New base game Rimworld patch, it's just like throwing a hand grenade into a fireworks factory if you try and play modded. Also, with the news from the VE team that some mods are no longer to be supported, I'll be passing on going back to cover them and instead waiting for the version 2 release. So things like Vikings, Medieval and Insectoids will be coming. I'll just be waiting until they're incorporated into newer versions. Thanks for watching folks. If you have any mods you'd like to see a full breakdown for, or suggestions of mods you'd like to see covered, feel free to leave them in the comments, I might get around to them. I'll be back again soon with another Rimworld mod rundown. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon or evening. Take care.